عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إيها الناس الحبيب. Peace be upon you in the mercy of Allah and His sanctification, O beloved people. Let's talk about staying locked in and staying focused on the task at hand. I speak to a specific community of people, the people that are fed up with society. And like me, I've known for years now, it's going to collapse. Not the way that you think, though, because Uranus is involved now. And admittedly, I didn't calculate that into it. I was just looking at Neptune and Saturn. And now, that's good, though, because now, my mind is better acclimated to that, because my Uranus natal is Sagittarius, therefore it is opposite this sign, meaning Uranus in Gemini, so it works out well for me. I'm actually loving it. But Saturn had entered Capricorn. I apologize. Pluto had entered Capricorn some years back, and that was the initiation of the toppling of the corporate structures, right? Corpse, dead body, corporation, corpse, artificial person in law, right? Saturn, law and order. Saturn is exalted in Libra, which is the scales, which is law and order, right? So Saturn would be the structure of the law, right? And Libra would be the balance of the law. Check this. That would be Saturn is in its fall, right? The Saturn is in Aries. So if Saturn is in Aries, the opposite of law and order, what do you think that means? What would be the opposite of order? Or rather, Saturn would be ruled by Venus, because Venus rules Libra. Venus is peace, right? Attraction and repulsion. Saturn is structure, restriction, like discipline. Aries is war, aggression, and action. They're going to declare martial law. No, Saturn has already declared that. Now, it went retrograde, so what happens is giving us a chance to reassess. The outer planets, they all do a dance. The dance is, you put your left foot in, you put your right foot out, then you put your left foot in, then you shake it all about, then you go all the way into the sign, and that's what it's all about. So they give you a appetizer of what's to come. They give you the reassessment of what has been. They start moving forward from the reassessment, go back in, and then stay in. All of them do this, starting from Saturn all the way out to Pluto. So why am I saying this? Because this is not an astrology video, right? This is a mental health or mentally focused, mentally enhancement video, a psychological enhancement video, right? Encouragement, inspiration. So what am I saying? Well, I have to use it as an example because it is Saturn's accentuation day. So staying focused, staying locked in. There's a lot of distractions out here. Uranus in Gemini, right? Gemini's a mutable sign. See, I kind of have to use the astrology, period. It kind of has to be both, so that I can explain why these things are happening, right? how you can actually use them to stay focused. Uranus is a Gemini. So Uranus is rebellion, literally. Innovation, right? And revolution. Revolution just means to turn in a circle. So we're just going to say rebellion. You know, English is a language of sorcery. It's literally rebellion and innovation. How? You have to rebel against what was in order to see what is and what can be. You remember what I was about to say Kratos. Thanos said. Well, they're actually related. If you look at the names, they're related. Kratos, power. Thanatos, power. You know, so they're related. How my mind works. I'll do it. Alhamdulillah, ala hamayatu wa salamatullah. Gotta watch out for these SC travelers and drivers. Maybe on one. But yeah, everyone around me is safe and secure. Positivity. So, stay locked in. That's one of the ways you stay locked in. Everything is purposeful. There's no accidents. Right? From the higher mind. Stay locked in by realizing what time you're in. You're in a time of transition. Saturn going retrograde means we need to reassess our structure, how we've been structuring our lives. No more frivolousness. Today is a Saturn accentuation day. It's the 7th day and the day belongs to the Creator, so it's not Saturn's day. Just like your birthday is not yours. It is a day that you were born on, which really you weren't. So it's a solar return. That's astrological. The day you were born is however many years ago from then. Like for me, it was some time ago. You know, I'll reveal my age on my solar return because I know I don't look a day over whatever y'all think that it is, but I'm actually older. But yeah, not old. I'm not an old man. But that too, right? Saturn, structure, age, thinking about those type of things. Future, Saturn, leading to ultimately the Sun in Cancer, anticipation. We're anticipating the collapse of society. Why? Because Cancer is the opposite sign of Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. See how this all works? It all correlates, and all signs are a sign pattern. So if you interpret a planet, if you interpret a planet, you always have to balance it out with its opposite sign. That's something I learned too in an astrology health book. Every sign is a sign pair, which it has to be. It makes sense. The opposite signs balance each other. My opposite sign is Aquarius, because I'm Leo, sun sign. And Jupiter for me is an Aquarius, so that's an excellent balance. And I have the locomotive chart with Jupiter as the conductor train car. So while the sun rules my chart, Jupiter leads my chart. So even though I only have one air planet, I'm super intellectual, and it seems like I have many, because Jupiter in Aquarius is a big part of my life and how I assess things. And it's on the descendant, which is opposite the ascendant, which is, well, the ascendant is how you see yourself. The descendant is actually how the world sees you. How? Because that's how you see the world. It's always going to be the opposite, but the opposite's balance. So, because it balances, they can see how you see yourself, because that's how you show up conversely in every situation. So, you remain focused by tapping into Saturn's energy, because Saturn is restriction. today is a day of Saturn accentuation. Now, on these days, what do people do? They actually do the opposite of Saturn. For instance, today, I fast. Saturn days, I fast. Unless it is, like last week was a clan reunion, relative reunion. So, that was a festive moment, so I didn't fast. But I had concluded the week prior, every Saturn accentuation day, right? Every Sabbath, every seventh day, I'm gonna fast. Just drink water, that's it. Why? Because then I'm gonna get my body structured, right? Habit, then it's gonna become a lifestyle, then that lifestyle will become a destiny. So that every time it's a certain day, even when I don't have a physical calendar to look at, I become the physical calendar, the ethereal calendar, because I have a physical body that I inhabit. I am the infinite observer, which is Allah, right? But I, the consciousness, aware of that, know that I'm but the servant of Allah. Why? Because the body serves the mind, but the body has a right over the mind at certain points because the mind constructed the body to be that way, because all is mental. So since all is mental, right, the 7 Hermetic or the 7 Allah principles, right, because everything belongs to the Creator. Another way of locking it is getting out of the blasphemy, right, getting out of the idolatry. Because, even the names of the days put you in idolatry. Oh, it's Saturn Day. So the planet Saturn made the day? Right, now you got to be logical. Oh, no, the planet was created itself. Okay, so how can it be its day? Is it the maker, the owner? Right, going back to the lessons of the 5%. Is it the maker, the owner? And that's just logical, right? The maker is the owner. If I built the house, is it somebody else's house? Because they just come there for that day and rest there and then go and leave? No. So, how could it be the day of the planet when the planet didn't make the day? The day actually pre-existed the planet, if you want to be technical. Because all days are the same day. What you're doing is you're counting sun cycles. So the sun made a cycle. That's every single day right there. So you're counting the cycles. And on these specific days, the Creator made the energies of these planets accentuate. And then there's double days, because you have the rest of the planets that co-rule certain signs. I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to stay mentally focused. So it's not too much of an astrology video, but the astrology does help you, right? Because you really do need to see it all as one. When you compartmentalize things, separation of so-called church and state, you're not focused. Our ancient Mayan, so-called Egyptian, Mizraimite ancestors, they didn't separate so-called religion from politics. More correctly said, they didn't separate the ethereal from the material. Right? They didn't separate the metaphysical from the legal. Now, there's an upside to that, and there's a downside to that. The upside is, if you're following the laws of the Most High, then your society is governed very well. If you follow the laws of the Most Low, Shaitan, your lower self, your society is going to be garbage at best, which is where we're at now. Regardless of what achievements you make, your society is still going to be garbage, because you measure it from top down, not from bottom up. Right? You don't think from your feet to your head. You think from your head to your feet. So if you're doing the opposite, or if you're believing you're doing the opposite, presuming is the correct word. If you're presuming that you're doing the opposite, you're out to lunch, like Taj Tariq Bey says, and something's amiss. You want to remain mentally healthy. Now the archons, your clan members, and your relatives, and they're part of the matrix. Just like they said, they're agents. They're gonna try to keep you trapped in the matrix because they're hopelessly dependent upon it. Stockholm syndrome. Yes, we have to do these things. Yes, we have to maintain these things because we're under threat, duress, and coercion. But other than that, these things have already collapsed and we're on the hamster wheel, but everything else is stopped. But you still in the dark, running the hamster wheel, and it's just that little light so that you could see. You thought that it was just nighttime. No, all the lights went out. All of the power went out. Right? The power to the matrix as we know it. Right? It's going to be ongoing until we out of here. But as we know it, the power has been cut from the old structure. Now there's a new structure. It's under new management. Right? Uranus rules the time. Remember that. Because Uranus rules Aquarius. We're in the age of Aquarius. But the age of Aquarius is also co-ruled by Saturn. So wherever Saturn is, you have to look to that as well. So they are sextile one another. So they're actually in complete agreement with where they are right now. Elementally, right? And degree-wise. So you stay locked in by knowing what time you're in. That's why I said all of that. I said all of that so that you can know what time you're in. And by knowing what time you're in, you can stay locked in. Easier. You can stay focused. By understanding the planets, right? You literally do understand. You stand under them, right? And comprehending their energy, completely grasping their energy. Well, only the Creator completely grasps, right? That's literally what perception means, to grasp, perceive, grasp completely. Only the Creator does that. So we don't actually perceive, we conceive, right? So it's our conception instead of our perception. So from now on, I won't use the term perception for Mercury. I'll use conception, because we conceive with the perception. We sieve with the right? Get into that etymology, right? Activate that so that you can have jurisdiction, meaning you use the correct words and not the incorrect words, because even the legal system, right, has its legalese, and you live in a legal system. What is it called? The cosmos. So you need to have the right words, regardless of which language you're using. People tell you it doesn't matter. It does matter, because it is a matter, and you are in matter. And the last time I checked, and I checked every day, the Creator is said to have spoken all of this into existence. Be, and it is. Kun fayakun. That's what that means. Be, and it is. Be, and He made it be. Kun, be, fire, therefore it is be. Exist, right? To make it make sense in English. Exist. He said exist, therefore it exists. Manifestation, the power of speaking things into existence. That's why it's important, very important to only speak positivity on yourself, even when things are going awry. Not awry, awry. Yeah, I know. English, right? So, I gotta watch these people. But, yeah. Stay locked in that way. It's a long one because it kind of needs to be. Actually, it's about to be over with because it's about to reach my destination. But yeah, you stay locked in like that by remembering the times that you're in. And you stay locked in by knowing which planets to use to stay locked in. Which is, right now, Mars, Mercury, after Saturn, that is, the Sun, the Moon, then Venus, because that's the cycle of energy. So it's discipline, action, communication, sense of purpose, intuition, attraction, and repulsion. And that's for this day's energy, as I explained on a previous video. So you stay locked in, you stay focused, because you know where you want to be. And you know you don't want to be where you are now. Nobody wants to be where they are now, because that's just the energy of the time. Everybody's constantly seeking to get more resources. Actually supposed to be a damn thing. Everybody's trying to get more resources, right? Everybody's trying to get more of this fiat currency, because everybody's using fiat currency because they're not using gold or silver. So you're not actually using real moneta, coin, money. So that's out. So you're just looking for numerology. That's why I always pump at gas pump 8. Because gas pump 8 is Saturn, right? Capricorn. The acquisition of resources. That's why it's the number of money. Because it's the number of structure, right? Capricorn, Saturn ruled planet. Number, right? That's interesting, right? The 7th day is for Saturn to accentuate its energy, but the actual number that's activated is 8. Figure 8, that's how it works. But yeah, you want to stay structured, you want to remember your purpose. It is very important now to stay disciplined and structured because Saturn is retrograde. So you want to stay locked into what you're doing. You want to stay abreast of the times. Uranus and Gemini. There's a lot of rebellious, innovative, otherworldly things going on that if you have the eyes to see, you can see it, but you want to see it in your third eye, which is your first eye, right? Which is the pineal. I've also seen it be referred to as the pituitary. All of them work in tandem. And I can see the validity in both, right? So, because the pituitary gland controls the rest of the organs, right? So if it controls the rest of the organs, the pineal is an organ, actually. They say gland, but it's actually an organ. It's more correctly the pineal organ. So the pituitary organ, right, would control all of the rest of the organs, including the third eye, right, which would be the pineal organ. So I could see that if it would control that, that's what it would be. And that may also be Saturn, or Saturn-Jupiter complex. I'm going to have to look that up again in the anatomy. Either it's the hypothalamus gland, that's Jupiter, and the pituitary gland is Saturn, which most likely it is because that's what came to mind, and that's how things are flowing now. So more likely than not, Saturn is the pituitary gland because it controls or regulates, organ. It controls and regulates the other organs. So the pituitary would be the master organ, not gland, organ. So, why do you cough like that? Man, mess me up. Wait, bros, if you gotta wait. My bit ad. Just trying to get around. People parking over the line. Pet peeve. Alhamdulillah for that help. Yeah, this is mad long, so I'm gonna stop it. Now that I reach my destination, probably make a different video. I'm staying locked in. This was kind of mostly astrology and partly mental health. You do want to stay locked in. You want to stay locked in to whatever mode is going to be most successful to you. And I'm saying that because I'm more aligned with the times now than I've ever been. So you want to align yourself with these planetary energies, and the planetary energy is retrograde right now, so it's a reassessment of how you've been structuring yourself. Neptune is also retrograde, so it's a reassessment of how you've been extrasensory conceiving things, right? Not perception, right? Now I gotta even change that. Now I gotta put ESC instead of ESP. Extrasensory conception, right? Only the creator perceives or fully grasps. So, stay locked in, stay disciplined, stay grateful, stay healthy, and then you will stay wealthy. Because health is the wealth, right? And remember, since money now is just numbers on the screen, numerology is now the wealth. So, like for today, it's the 19th, right? Karmic number. 1 always represents the initiation or what is being abused, and the number right after, right? This is not all teens. There's only a couple, right? A few. A couple is 2, right? I'll name them right now. 13, 14, 16, 19. It's only 4, right? All of the rest of the teens or tens are not karmic numbers. Karmic numbers are not bad. They just represent extra energy, necessary extra energy cycles so that things can run smoothly later on, right? Reassessments, right? And today, 1/9 in the Gregorian calendar, which is false, a part of this matrix, right? 9 represents completion, right? So it is an abuse of complete energy, complete abuse of what? 1. It reduces to 1, self. Don't abuse your power, because the 9 also represents what? Power, because it's what? The most powerful number. It's the last. Really, 1 is the most powerful number, but 9 represents the end of the cycle, where other than the Most High, the power ends there for limited beings. So the power being ending at 9, beginning at 1, we have no choice but to abuse that power. Abuse. Aberrantly using power, right? People usually think of abuse as just hitting somebody, but it's abuse. Abnormal or aberrant use of power, or the complete use of your energy, which is reworked through what? 1, 0, right? Which is actually a positive number, because you can't abuse nothing. You can only use nothing to become something. Really, 10, only the creator could use that. You can't use 10. Why? Because it's a cycle of beginnings. You can't begin the beginning, so you just got to start back at 1, right? That's why 10 is spiritual or ethereal rebirth. Right? In the tarot, it's the Wheel of Fortune. That energy, that's Aries energy, so it cycles back to Aries. Whereas 9 is Scorpio energy, and that's Pluto. There goes your abuse in the cycle where it recycles back to you. Yeah, there's been a half hour, so I'm going to cut it now, because we know how people's attention spans are. So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ayyuhan nasi al-habib, wada'an.